Hello everyone. Today is May 5th, 2026 and I'm Tolly Sands and you are watching Uncle Sands YouTube channel. Today we are breaking down the absolute biggest events happening right now in global and United States politics. The world is spinning fast, the political establishment is panicking and the mainstream media is working overtime to spin the narrative. But today, we are cutting through the noise and looking at the hard facts. Here is what is on the agenda for today's show. Topic number one, the so-called mini war with Iran that's draining American wallets. While the White House claims we have already won, Iran is striking ports in United Arab Emirates. United States destroyers are striking boats in the Gulf, and gas prices have surged past $4 a gallon. We will look at why this unpopular war is becoming a massive political nightmare ahead of the midterms. Topic number two, the brewing civil war inside the conservative movement. Tucker Carlson gets caught on leaked tape mentioning if Donald Trump is the Antichrist, sits down for massive interview with the New York Times and threatens to fracture the entire MAGA base. Topic number three, the two-tiered justice system on full display. A federal judge in Washington, D.C. literally looked into the eye of a man accused of trying to assassinate Donald Trump and repeatedly apologized to him for his jail conditions. Yes, you heard that right. You can't make this up. It's a package show today. Grab a seat, hit a like button, and let's get right into it. So, first topic about the war. Today, we need to talk about the reality hitting every single American right now. Not a spin coming out of Washington, not the carefully crafted press releases from the Pentagon. The reality you see every time you pull up to a gas station. Right now, as we speak, the United States is deeply entrenched in conflict with Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is essentially choked off. Commercial vessels are being escorted by United States Navy destroyers just to get through. And what are we hearing from administration? We are hearing that everything is under control. Yes, guys, it's everything under control, have you know. But the number of domestic reaction and the expert tell a completely different story. Today, I'm going to break down exactly why this war is becoming the most politically toxic event of 2026 midterms. Who is saying that and why the establishment is panicking? Let's get straight into this. The disconnect between Washington and Main Street. Let's start with the most glaring issue. The massive disconnect between what the White House say and what American people actually feeling. President Donald Trump recently referred to this conflict as mini war. During an interview with Newsmax, Greta Van Susteren, he probably proclaimed, "We are already won the war in Iran," but added that he wants, quote, "win by a bigger margin," end quote. Think about for a second. We already won. It's quote. Yes, United States Central Command, CENTCOM, just reported that United States forces had to redirect 49 commercial vessels as a part of blockage on Iranian port, where United States military literally had to sink 7 small Iranian boats. Just hours ago, after Iran launched a drone strike on oil facilities in the United Arab Emirates. Does that sound like a war that has already been won? The American public certainly doesn't think so, and the media is starting to pointing out the obvious. The New York Times published a scathing piece just today. The headline reads, quote, "Trump faces the complicated reality of a costly, unpopular war in Iran." The authors of the piece write, quote, the United States and Israel have taken out military targets and killed senior Iranian leaders, but the government will remain intact and able to inflict pain on the United States. As the conflict continues, Mr. Trump has encouraged Americans to keep things in perspective, citing the long war in Vietnam and Iraq to suggest the United States engagement in Iran is minimal by comparison. But Americans are not comparing this to Vietnam. We are comparing to their bank accounts. According to a brand new Reuters poll, the president approval rating has plummeted to 34%, the lowest level on his current term. Reuters laid it out plainly. Quote, at home, Trump is under pressure to end the war that has dragged his approval rating to the lowest level of his term and spiked gasoline prices above $4 a gallon ahead of the midterms, end quote. This is the core of the issue. You can't tell the American working class that you are winning a mini war when it costs them $80 to fill up their tank. So, the economic fallout, gas prices, and midterm panic. Let's talk about what $4 a gallon reality. Because in an election year, the economy is the only metric that truly dictates who stays in power and who gets thrown out. The Strait of Hormuz is global economy jugular vein. Roughly a third of the world's seaborne oil passes through it. When Iran launches drone at the port of Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates, triggering massive fire and halting oil loading operation, as they did yesterday, the global markets panic. And who pays the price for the panic? You do. You guys do. Let's look at what the financial analysts are saying. Energy market experts are warning that if the United States Navy can't guarantee the safety of commercial shipping, we are not just looking at $4 gas. We are looking for a fundamental energy crisis right before Americans head to polls. In recent analytics by Reuters, energy correspondence with situation was framed as political ticking time bomb. Quote, Trump has so far shagged of domestic concerns as he has become increasingly aggressive on the world stage. But the standoff could leave Trump worse off than before he went to war. The Republican establishment is terrified. We know that historically, whenever gas prices spike right before a midterm election, the incumbent party gets slaughtered. It does not matter how you try to spin foreign policy. When middle-class families have to choose between buying groceries and filling up their gas tanks to get to work, they vote against the party in the power. Period. This is why, by seeing a shift in rhetoric, Trump is saying to project strange, warning Iranian force what they will be blown off the face of the earth, like Trump say, if they target United States ship. But bluster does not lower the price of crude oil. So it's not just left-wing media going after the administration. There is a growing chorus of national security experts and even conservative voices who are questioning the strategy. Let's bring the perspective of military analysis. Many are pointing out asymmetry of this conflict. The United States, the most powerful military on the planet, but Iran is using cheap drones, proxies, and asymmetrical warfare to bleed the United States dry economically. As the New York Times rightly pointed out, taking out military target doesn't stop Iran from inflicting pain on the United States. The pain is not necessarily American casualties on the ground. The pain is economic disruption. Iran knows that Trump's greatest vulnerability in the US economy. Let's look at the legal and constitutional pushback as well. CNN just reported on a brewing battle in Congress regarding the War Power Act. Quote, the law sets a 60-day limit on unauthorized wars. The United States is a blowing past it in Iran. So not only we fighting a war with a jacking up inflation and gas prices, but critics are now arguing with the administration and operating outside of constitutional limits by extending the conflict without explicit congressional authorization. It's really hard. So guys, subscribe our channel, and we continue our show. Americans screaming about gas prices. You have a Republican base that is becoming increasingly fractured, wondering why we are fighting yet another endless war in the Middle East. The exact type of war Donald Trump promised he would keep America out of. Yes, it was one of Donald Trump's election promises. Don't start new wars and stop all wars happening now in the world. So, conclusion. So where does this leave us? We are watching a high-stakes gamble play out in real time. The administration is betting that they can pacify the Strait of Hormuz, declare a definitive victory, and get oil prices stabilized before November. But Iran gets a vote. And right now, Tehran's strategy is clear. Drag this out, disrupt the global oil supply, and make the conflict as politically painful for Washington as possible. The 34% approval rating is a red flashing light. The $4 gas is a siren. If this mini war isn't wrapped up soon, it might not just cost the administration the midterm election. It could redefine American foreign policy for the next decade. We will keep tracking the numbers, the statements, and the reality on the ground. Because what we tell you in Washington rarely matches what you pay at the pump. So stay tuned. Okay. Guys, ask your questions. Let's see if you're asking something. You can write comments and ask your questions here and like. Okay, the next our topic about Tucker Carlson. All right, let's pivot from foreign policy to civil war currently raging inside the American conservative movement. And when I say the civil war, I mean a direct collision between the biggest voice in conservative media and the president of the United States. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson. For years, Tucker has been the undisputed heavyweight champion of the America First movement. He was the intellectual engine of MAGA, MAGA movement. But right now, Tucker is the center of massive scandal that threatens to fracture the Republican base right before the midterms. If you have not been paying attention to the podcast Escape over last 48 hours, you have missed political earthquake. Yes, Tucker Carlson made a lot of stuff to bring Donald Trump to White House. He was his main political ally, and without Tucker's support, I think it was way more difficult for Donald Trump to become a president of the United States. So here's exactly what's happened. Last week, an audio recording surfaced. In this recording, Tucker Carlson is heard mussing out loud behind closed doors about Donald Trump might literally be the Antichrist. You know, Antichrist. Yes, you heard us right, the Antichrist. Now, when the tape leaked, the political establishment lost its mind. The Daily Beast immediately ran the story, correcting Tucker on it, cornering Tucker on it. I'm sorry. Their headline dropped yesterday. Quote, Tucker Carlson cornered after denying Donald Trump Antichrist comment, end quote. According to report, Tucker initially tried to brush it off, insisting he never suggested Trump could be the Antichrist, despite the recording clearly proving he had. But it gets deeper. Tucker did not just hide. He went on the offensive. He sat down for a massive two-part, wide-ranging interview with New York Times. When the New York Times is interviewing Tucker Carlson, you know something fundamental is shifting. The Times described the interview this way, quote, we had a wide-ranging conversation about his views on the war, his friendship with Vice President J.D. Vance, and more surreally, whether he thinks Trump is Antichrist, something he's been mussing about on his show. Hanging over our whole two-part discussion was central question. Will Carlson anti-Trump conversion last? And important, wider cracking on the MAGA movement, end quote. The New York Times is openly asking if Tucker anti-Trump conversion is beginning on the end of the infiled MAGA coalition. Ununified. Guys, like it and subscribe, please. So, how is media and political establishment reacting on this? On the left, we are having a field day, but we are not buying Tucker's new independent truth-teller persona. The Bulwark, a prominent anti-Trump conservative outlet, published a piece by Will Seleton, tearing into Tucker's media tour. The headline is brutal. Quote, Tucker Carlson looked her in the eyes and lied. Seleton breaks down the New York Times interview and argues that Tucker's so-called apology tour is completely hollow. A desperate attempt to salvage his credibility after being caught on tape. But the reaction on the right is what actually matters here. Conservative voters are confused. On his own podcast, The Tucker Carlson Show, on Apple and Spotify, Tucker is doubling down on his brand. His show's description literally reads, quote, The Tucker Carlson Show is your beacon of free speech and honest reporting in a media landscape dominated by misinformation. The only solution to ending the propaganda spiral is telling the truth. That's our job every day, no matter what, end quote. He is positioning himself as the only man willing to tell the truth, even if the truth means attacking Donald Trump. Tucker has been fiercely critical of the war in Iran. While Trump calls it mini-war and send destroyers to Strait of Hormuz, Tucker is telling his audience that he's exactly the kind of senseless, endless Middle Eastern entitlement that America First Movements was supposed to destroy. So it looks like this. Why it's matter for midterms? Let's connect the door. Why does a leaked tape about an Antichrist matter to you? Because we are in a midterm election year. The Republican Party relies on massive, unified turnout on hold on to power. Donald Trump needs to base energize it. But now you have a most influential conservative commentator in the country, signaling to millions of voters that the president might be leading them into unconstitutional, expensive war and questioning his moral core. Tucker is doing something very dangerous for GOP establishment. He is driving a wedge between populist anti-war, conservative and traditional, hawkish Republicans surrounding the president. If Tucker audience decides to stay home in November because they feel betrayed by the administration foreign policy, the Republican Party will lose the House and the Senate. This is not just a celebrity feud. This is a battle for the soul of a conservative movement. Tucker is betting that his loyalty is to the ideology of America First, not to the man currently sitting in Oval Office. And he is daring Donald Trump to prove him wrong. Will the MAGA base follow Trump into a war in Iran, or they will follow Tucker Carlson out the door? This is a multi-million-dollar question of 2026. Yeah, it's right. We'll see, and now it looks like Republicans has really big problems with this election, but we will see how it will evolve. Okay, guys, let's go to the next topic. What we have today, it's about judge. So now I want to take you into the absolute theater of absurd that is an American justice system in 2026. For the last 3 years, we have heard lectures from the establishment about the rule of law. We have heard about how the justice system is blind. We saw how January protesters were treated. Many of them were thrown into solitary confinement, denied basic rights, and treated as terrorists and for trespassing. But apparently, if you try to assassinate Donald Trump, you get completely different set of rules. In fact, you don't just get a lawyer, you get an apology from a judge. Let me break down what happened just a few hours ago in Washington, D.C. courtroom. It's one of the most surreal moments of modern legal history. The man in question is called Thomas Allen. This is the suspect accused of attempt assassination of President Donald Trump at White House Correspondents Association dinner back in April. This is not a petty criminal. This is a man who allegedly planned and attempted to murder the sitting president of the United States and the members of his administration at a massive press gala. According to FBI, Allen even admitted during interrogation that he did not expect to survive the attack. He went there to kill the president. So, naturally, when you arrest for trying to assassinate the commander-in-chief, you are placed in maximum security environment. The DC jail placed Allen on a suicide watch, separated him from our inmates in a safe cell, and restricted his access to certain items, including Bible, for his own safety. The standard procedure for high-profile suicide assassin, right? Not in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, Allen was brought before U.S. Magistrate Judge Zia Faruqi, and instead of focusing on the fact that this man tried to blow the president's head off, the judge focused on the fact that the assassin was feeling uncomfortable in his jail cell. I want to read you exact quotes from courtroom because if I just told you this happened, you wouldn't believe me. Addressing the man who tried to murder Donald Trump, Judge Faruqi said, quote, I'm very troubled by what they indicate that condition that you have been subjected to. I'm sorry. End quote. He did not just apologize. According to reporters in the courtroom, NBC News and The Guardian, the judge apologized to the beginning and at the end of the hearing. He told the suspect, quote, "Whatever you have been through, I apologize," end quote. The judge went on to describe Allen's treatment in DC jail as legally deficient and expressed grave concerns that being in a safe cell on suicide watch was tantamount to solitary confinement. He noted that the conditions were inappropriate for a person with no criminal history. It's a quote also. Let me repeat that. The judge said maximum security is inappropriate for a guy with no criminal history who, quote, just tried to assassinate the president of the United States. The reaction from conservative base has been absolute volcanic rage, and rightfully so. Let's do a quick comparison. When conservative grandmothers walked through the open door of the Capitol in January, they were thrown into DC gulag. They were kept in solitary confinement for months. They were denied medical care. They were denied religious texts. And did any federal judge ever look them in the eye and say, "I'm so troubled by your condition. I apologize for what you have been through"? Of course not. They are branded and as insurrectionists and terrorists. The Department of Justice threw a book at them. But Cole Allen, a left-wing radical who brings a gun to a gala to murder Donald Trump, the judge practically offers him a warm blanket and a cup of tea. This is the two-tiered justice system playing out in plain sight. Newsweek and Yahoo News are reporting this is with a straight face, as if it's totally normal for a federal judge to coddle a presidential assassin. The messaging from DC swamp unmistakable. If you are a conservative who step out of line, the state will crush you. But if you are radical who tries to eliminate the leader of conservative movement, the system will apologize for making your jail cell too uncomfortable. It's sick, it's corrupt, and it's exactly why millions of Americans have completely lost faith in Department of Justice. So it looks like this is all I wanted to tell you, and I don't see any messages on chat, any questions. So thank you guys. Like this video, subscribe this channel, and see you, I guess, next time very soon. Have a good night.